Unrest in southern Turkey has disrupted rescue efforts following Monday's deadly earthquake, 3 rescue groups have said. The death toll in Turkey and Syria from the quake has surpassed 28,000, and hope of finding many more survivors is fading despite some miraculous rescues. German rescuers and the Austrian army paused search operations on Saturday, citing clashes between unnamed groups. Security is expected to worsen as food supplies dwindle, one rescuer said. And nearly 50 people have been arrested for looting, with several guns seized, local media reported. Turkey's president said he would use emergency power to punish anyone breaking the law. An Austrian army spokesperson said early on Saturday that clashes between unidentified groups in the Hatay province had left dozens of personnel from the Austrian Forces Disaster Relief Unit seeking shelter in a base camp with other international organizations. More than 5,000 pregnant Russian women have entered Argentina in recent months, including 33 on a single flight on Thursday, officials say. The latest arrivals were all in the final weeks of pregnancy, according to the National Migration Agency. It is believed the women want to make sure their babies are born in Argentina to obtain Argentinian citizenship. The number of arrivals has increased recently, which local media suggests is a result of the war in Ukraine. Of the 33 women who arrived in the Argentinian capital on one flight on Thursday, 3 were detained because of problems with their documentation, joining 3 more who arrived the previous day, Migration Agency head Florencia Carignano told La Nación. One of Ukraine's closest allies has cast doubt on whether it would be able to supply President Volodymyr Zelensky with the fighter jets he says are needed to win the war with Russia. Poland's president, Andrzej Duda, speaking exclusively to Sunday with Laura Kunzberg, said sending F-16 aircraft would be a very serious decision that was not easy to take. Poland has been one of Ukraine's most vocal supporters since Russia invaded. Last month, it was one of several countries to pledge to send more tanks, ammunition and equipment to the front line. President Duda's comments come despite him and President Zelensky having spoken this week, at the end of the Ukrainian leader's surprise headline-grabbing European tour. In London, President Zelensky used his speech in Parliament to call for the means to help fight Russia in the air. It's been about 4 years since we have been back here in Hong Kong, and I must say, we have missed you guys so much. The statement from Blackpink's Rosé to the 14,000 fans packing out Asia World Arena is greeted by rapturous cheers. The K-pop superstars, Jisoo, Jennie, Rosé and Lisa, have been on their Born Pink World Tour since October. Fan Charlotte Hofstetter didn't hesitate to travel from Singapore to Bangkok, Thailand in January to catch them on stage. When pandemic restrictions were in place, Charlotte followed updates about the band on social media and even attended one of the group's virtual concerts. I was excited for live concerts. It was the first stop in the Asian leg of their tour in Lisa's hometown, so it was a special place to be. The medieval chair used in the coronation of monarchs is undergoing conservation work in order to be ready for the crowning of King Charles III. The 700-year-old oak chair is described as extremely fragile by conservation experts at Westminster Abbey. The painstaking preservation work is intended to clean the chair and stabilize layers of flaking gilding. It's part of the preparations for the coronation ceremony to be held at the Abbey in London on the 6th of May. The historic coronation chair, a centerpiece of the ceremony for centuries, is a unique work of art, says conservator Christa Blesley. It was made on the orders of Edward I, who reigned from 1272 to 1307, and it has been used in almost every coronation ceremony since then. The world-renowned Uruguayan architect who designed buildings including London's so-called walkie-talkie has died aged 78. Death was announced by his son, Roman, who described him as a visionary who leaves a rich legacy of distinctive and timeless designs. He established Raphael Vignoli Architects in 1983, and his work features in more than 600 structures around the world. He died in hospital, reportedly from an aneurysm, in New York City on Thursday. Roman Vignoli said his father's designs manifested in some of the world's most recognizable structures and that he would be missed by all those whose lives he touched through his work. U.S. actor Tom Sizemore, known for roles in Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down, has died at 61, his manager says. Sizemore found fame in the 1990s, often playing supporting roles as tough guys, usually military, police, or criminal. His other credits included Natural Born Killers, Pearl Harbor, and Heat. But he also had drug problems and served jail time for domestic violence. Sizemore had been in a coma since suffering a ruptured brain aneurysm on the 18th of February. His manager, Charles Lago, said he died on Friday at a hospital in Burbank, California, with his brother Paul and twin boys Jaden and Jagger, 17, at his side. That work led to bigger roles in 1990s dramas such as Tony Scott's True Romance, Devil in a Blue Dress, opposite Denzel Washington, and the biopic Wyatt Earp, alongside Kevin Costner. Disgraced ex-lawyer Alex Murdaugh has been sentenced to life in prison for murdering his wife and son in a case that shocked the U.S. The hearing in South Carolina came one day after a jury took less than 3 hours to convict the 54-year-old. Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, 52, and son Paul, 22, were shot at close range on their family estate on the 7th of June 2021. Prosecutors argued he killed his wife and son to divert attention from his financial crimes and gain sympathy. Judge Clifton Newman called the case one of the most troubling he had seen and noted Murdaugh's past as a well-known member of the legal community. "You've practiced law before me, and we've seen each other at various occasions throughout the years," he said, calling it especially heartbreaking for me to learn of Murdaugh's arrest and prosecution more than a year after the murders were committed. U.S. President Joe Biden had a cancerous skin lesion removed last month during a routine health screening, the White House has said. All cancerous tissue was removed and no further treatment is required, Mr. Biden's doctor said. Mr. Biden will continue dermatologic surveillance as part of his ongoing health care, the doctor added. The president, 80, had a physical exam in February which the White House said found him healthy and fit for duty. Kevin O'Connor, Mr. Biden's doctor, wrote in a note provided to media on Friday that the lesion was removed from Mr. Biden's chest on the 16th of February at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center outside Washington, D.C. No further treatment is required, he said, adding that the area has healed nicely since the biopsy was taken. The note said that the type of cancer found, basal cell carcinoma, does not normally spread or metastasize. Kylian Mbappe scored a club record 201st goal for Paris Saint-Germain in an entertaining 4-2 win over Nantes. He had to wait until the 92nd minute but was clinical as he turned to finish left-footed and go clear of Edinson Cavani at the top of the PSG goal list. The France forward, who turned 24 in December, has established himself as a footballing superstar. He has played at 2 World Cup finals, winning the trophy in 2018 and earning the Golden Boot as top scorer in 2022. Mbappe, who also won the 2021 Nations League with his country, scored a hat-trick in December's World Cup final against Argentina, which France lost on penalties after a 3-3 draw. Since joining PSG from Monaco in 2017 for a world record fee for a teenager, Mbappe has won 4 League One titles and topped the division's scoring charts for each of the past 4 seasons. Thousands of single-screen cinemas once dotted India's landscape. The emergence of multiplexes led to their slow demise, and now, there are just a few hundred of them left. Cinematographer Hemant Chaturvedi has been chronicling the last vestiges of a dying tradition. India's single-screen cinemas were grand structures, built to accommodate large audiences and boasted diverse architectural styles. Chaturvedi began his project in 2019, and has photographed 950 theaters across 15 states so far. In the past 25 years, the number of single-screen cinemas has dwindled from 24,000 to 9,000, he says. Some have been demolished to make space for malls and buildings, others are in ruins as they've lost their clients. The oil used to anoint the king in the coronation is one of the most sacred and mysterious parts of the ceremony, and a new quantity has been prepared. But reflecting modern animal-friendly sensitivities, this oil will not include any ingredients from animals. The chrism oil for the coronation was consecrated in a religious ceremony in Jerusalem on Friday. This was carried out in one of the city's holiest Christian sites, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Previous versions have included civet oil, from the glands of the small mammals, and ambergris from the intestines of whales. There had been concerns about animal cruelty and the need to protect wildlife, and the latest formula for the holy oil for King Charles's coronation will be animal-free. A decades-old photograph from Ghana's Deo Gratia studio, now in its centenary year, demands attention. It is not one of dozens snapped in a hurry to be swiped through and then forgotten. The photographer and the subjects clearly spent time on the composition and production. One day in the 1930s, a local chief fisherman holding a ceremonial oar must, along with his wife, have stepped into J.K. Bruce Vanderpuye's studio in Accra, the capital of what was then known as the Gold Coast. Asking the couple to keep still and look straight ahead, he captured their regal look, dressed in fine cloth with a symbolic crown. The couple are frozen in time, but the country was undergoing big changes around them. Two cheetah cubs have died and a third is in a critical condition at a national park in India's Madhya Pradesh state. Another cub died in the national park on Tuesday. The cubs were the first to be born in India in more than 70 years after the animals were declared officially extinct in the country. A female cheetah translocated from Namibia to India last year had given birth to them in March. Following this, the female cheetah and her 3 cubs were put under observation, authorities at the park said in a press note. Temperature in the park had hit nearly 47 degrees on Tuesday and the cubs did not seem to be in normal condition, they said. The cubs were found to be weak, underweight and extremely dehydrated. 2 cubs died on Thursday despite steps taken to save them, the park authorities said. A towering cotton tree which has stood for several hundred years in Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, has been brought down by a heavy storm. President Julius Maada Bio said the tree fell after a downpour on Wednesday night. He described it as a great loss to the nation. He said the tree was a symbol of liberty for early settlers. It also appears on Sierra Leone banknotes. But some Christians hailed its demise, saying it was used for witchcraft. A heavy rainstorm a week ago caused one of the tree's branches to fall, but it had been thought it would survive. However, in another storm on Wednesday, the end came down, leaving just part of the trunk still standing. The 70 meters, 230 feet high cotton tree was said to be the oldest of its kind in the country. A government statement estimated it to be 400 years old. Just 300 meters away are the Freedom Steps, climbed by newly arrived freed slaves who offered prayers at the tree before making Freetown their home. As the city grew over the years, it expanded around the ancient tree at its heart. More than 5 decades after he began his studies, Arthur Ross finally walked across the stage at the University of British Columbia, UBC, on Thursday to receive his Bachelor of Arts degree. Mr. Ross, 71, said he is likely the slowest student at the Vancouver University. He also may be the slowest in the world. It took him precisely 54 years to finish his degree, 2 years longer than the Guinness World Record holder, Robert F. P. Cronin, who began his biology degree at Princeton University in 1948 and graduated in 2000. But Mr. Ross said he is in no rush to claim his world record title. The real reward, he said, was the knowledge he was able to gain through his classes. I just wanted to learn because I was curious, Mr. Ross told the BBC this week. That desire for learning, he said, is what inspired him to finish his degree after all these years.